All right, let's talk about something that's incredibly common, but we don't really talk about it much. And that's the fear of driving. Now, I'm not just talking about those new driver jitters. No, this is something much deeper. It's a powerful phobia, and it actually has a name, Amaxophobia.
So think about it for a second. Does just the idea of grabbing your car keys and getting behind the wheel make your heart start to pound? Maybe your palms get a little sweaty? If that sounds even remotely familiar, I want you to know you are absolutely not alone. So let's break down what this fear is all about. Okay, so the official term is Amaxophobia. And the key word here, the one to really focus on, is intense. This isn't just, being annoyed by traffic. It's a deep, overwhelming fear that can feel totally out of your control. And it can affect you as a driver or even just as a passenger. It's a fear that often feels way, way bigger than the actual risk.
So that begs the question, right? Where does a fear like this even come from? It's not like it just pops up out of thin air one day. Turns out there are several pretty common triggers that can plant the seeds of Amaxophobia. And what's really telling here is just how varied the causes are. For some people, yeah, it's the direct result of something traumatic, like being in an accident themselves. But for others, the fear is much more abstract. It's this crippling fear of losing control, of what could happen. It can even be a symptom of a more general anxiety disorder, where the brain just kind of latches onto driving as the thing to focus all that anxiety on.
And let's be clear, this fear isn't just in your head. No way. It is a full-body response. When you're faced with that trigger, the physical symptoms can be, wow, they can be intense. We're talking sweating, a heart that feels like it's going to beat right out of your chest, even dizziness. And of course, the most telling symptom of all is just actively avoiding it, finding any excuse not to get in that car. Okay, so we get the causes, we get the symptoms, but what's the real-world impact? How does a fear like this actually change the entire course of someone's life? Because it really, really can. This statement right here, it just says it all. A fear that shrinks your world. Because when you avoid driving, you're not just avoiding roads and highways, you're avoiding opportunities. Your world, which should be expanding, just starts to get smaller and smaller, hemmed in by the limits of where you can go without a car. And this chart, well, it puts that shrinking world into really sharp focus. Just look at the contrast. On one side, you've got limited job options, social isolation, always having to depend on other people. And on the other, career freedom, the ability to just spontaneously go see your friends. It's a trade-off between dependence and independence, between being restricted and having the freedom to just go. But, and this is the most important part of this whole thing, this is not a life sentence. The fear might feel huge, I get that, but there are proven, effective ways to take back control. It's about regaining the driver's seat, both literally and, metaphorically. And the great news is that there is a clear path forward. Therapy, especially something called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is super effective. Basically, it teaches you how to challenge and change those anxious thoughts that are fueling the fear. At the same time, you gradually and safely reintroduce yourself to driving. That's often combined with things like relaxation techniques, and for more severe cases, medication can also be a huge help in managing that underlying anxiety.
Overcoming a phobia like this is a journey. It's definitely not a race. The road ahead might have its challenges, for sure, but the destination, well, that's a life with a whole lot more freedom and confidence. And here's the key takeaway I really want you to hear. This is not just wishful thinking. With the right help, with a good, structured approach, getting your confidence back behind the wheel is an absolutely 100% achievable goal.
So let's just end with this question. If this fear wasn't a factor for you, if it just disappeared and the roads were completely open to you, where would you go first? Who would you go see? Just imagine that freedom for a second, because it really is possible. Thanks for watching.